Okay, let's see. What do y'all think? Do we have audio now? Yeah, I actually had government shut down on my list tonight. Let's see. Check, 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 1, 2. Check, 1, 2. Check, 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 1, 2. Check, 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 1, 2. Okay, it looks like on my end that it is coming through. Okay. Okay, I'm going to give you a hilarious. Okay, maybe it's not so hilarious. Maybe it's just foolish, but a look into the world of Rick Green. Okay, so here's what was wrong. I'm just going to show you. So this is the unit I use for my afternoon show on American Family Radio, and I had the mic plugged into this, which is not how I talk to y'all when I do the Tavern, and I forgot to switch it back after my last show. So that's all on me, my fault. This is what happens when I'm the tech guy. Okay, well, there was 5 minutes of brilliance there. Not really. It was 5 minutes of rambling. I'll try to remember what in the world I said. But what did I say? Oh, I was talking about my week and just how crazy the week was, and how I apologize if I look tired because I am. But it was just a killer week. I mean, it was awesome. Really, really good gatherings, and then we're going into a really cool week because we're here at the campus all week. I'm thrilled to be home. I love being here in the Tavern. And living on the campus, it certainly makes it easier to get to things. And so, anyway, I'm thrilled about being here this week. We got a great group coming in to the campus this week from Leaders Academy. If you're not familiar with Leaders Academy, that is a program you need to look at. Okay, I'm obviously a big fan of Patriot Institute and what we do here, but we're literally modeling a lot of what they did for my kids. And they have been wonderful mentors for us, and a great church out of Hot Springs called Christian Ministries Church. My kids spent, a couple of them spent years there. One of them spent a year there, and life-changing, powerful, powerful, powerful encounters with God and relationships and mentoring and training and getting grounded. Just incredible program. And it's actually I think it would really blaze the trail for these, what people call gap year programs. I don't like calling them that because it's really what's next. It's not a gap between high school and college. It's do this first so that you know whether or not you want to go to college and find your purpose, figure out what God wants you to do. And so that's what Leaders Academy is. And it was designed, Tim Brooks designed it specifically to be for, not for that, not that you don't need programs for kids that are really in a lot of trouble and really struggling with life and addiction or whatever. You need programs for them. That I'm not downplaying that at all. But this program, Leaders Academy and Patriot Institute, frankly, that's just not what they're for. They are for the Johnny and Susie that are trying to do everything right, that are trying to follow the Lord, that are looking for guidance for what to do with their life, and they want that extra edge. And they're trying to make good decisions, and nobody's perfect and all that good stuff. But this is for those kind of kids, and that's what Leaders Academy is. And I'm telling you, it was just a life-changing, powerful, powerful experience. You really know how good a program like that is when most of the students that go to the program want to stay at that church, in that town, in that community, and start their life. And that's certainly how Leaders is. In fact, my own kids did that. And then, a lot of the students that we've sent a lot of students to Leaders Academy over the years, and a lot of them end up staying in Hot Springs, working for that church or working for somebody in that church. And it's just a great community. So we are thrilled to kind of be able to give back to that program for all that it's done to teach my kids, to teach us, and to help us design our Patriot Institute, which the Patriot Institute is the one-year program at the Patriot Academy campus. We're entering our second full year of that. We tested it 5 years ago, actually, before we had land, to see if it would work. We had 5 amazing young men that we had come in and spend 6 months with us, and they just lived there with us. And we didn't have the property, and we didn't have the programs that we have now. We really were testing out some things. And those kids went on to, they run Mercury One's American Journey experience. They teach. They're doing all kinds of cool stuff. But anyway, so Leaders Academy will be here this week, and we're sort of merging our Patriot Institute and Leaders Academy for the week to experience the Patriot Academy campus. So they'll be doing a full leadership congress. They're going to get to do a handgun defense class. and they'll be here for our big community-wide open house that we're doing on Thursday. That's the other big thing coming up for us this week. I know I shared, I don't know, 3 weeks ago here in the Tavern about the death threats and the crazy stuff that we were getting locally in this region, and as a result of us doing Constitution City and the county judge stabbing us in the back and all of those things that happened, it set off a firestorm of opposition, and the left got a hold of it, man. And so you got all these headlines about far right this and, Nazis and fascists. We're getting called every name in the book with all kinds of death threats that they're going to burn the place down, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not that I don't take those things seriously. We've definitely had our conversations with the sheriff and taken our precautions for sure. Proverbs 27:12. But it has caused us to have a lot of work to do locally to basically to make sure that the enemy is not able to frame the debate and not able to label Patriot Academy and what we're doing here for people that don't know about us, which most people don't know about us. Okay, we were never as big as Turning Point. We certainly didn't have, the international, absolutely name that Turning Point now has. But we were known, in conservative circles and, in, biblical citizenship circles and liberty pastors and within the Turning Point world and all of that. But locally, it's kind of that prophet has no honor in his own hometown kind of thing. Patriot Academy had no honor in her hometown because we only been here 2.5 years. And we haven't had time to really reach out as much as we should have in the community because we've been busy building the campus and doing all the programs that we do. And so there's just a ton of people in this area, no clue who we are, what we do. And so we're doing more of a concentrated effort to go out, just like you would with a campaign. If you were running for state rep or county commissioner or something like that, you spend time in the district, you spend time in the area talking to people, going to events, letting them know who you are, what you stand for. And so we're essentially doing that now. We're with a major public relations campaign that it's taking a lot of time and money and effort, but it's already paying off big time. It's already working. And this Thursday, we're going to have a big open house here at the Patriot Academy campus. In fact, the response has been so big we had to shut off registrations for it, and it's going to be a packed house. So these kids from Leaders Academy and from Patriot Institute will be in the middle of their leadership congress when that open house happens. So it'll give those people coming in that don't know anything about us a chance to really see what we do, because so they'll get to observe these students out on the house floor debating and doing all that. So anyway, that's what the week's going to look like. So I'll be here training those kiddos this week, and then off to Iowa for a Convention of States event with my brother from another mother, Mark Meckler. And I think if I remember right, Mike Ferris, Rick Santor might be there. I can't remember. Some other folks are going to be there, but we'll be up there on Saturday. So for those of you in that region, if you'd like to come out to that event, be sure and check out the COS website for more details. Okay, I was going to tell you real quick about last week, and then I'll get to some of those headlines. So this Liberty Pastors event that I was talking about, and Paul Blair, and I think while I was still muted and had no microphone, oh wait, somebody doesn't even have a picture. Did we get disconnected, or is that just one person that doesn't have a picture? You guys help me out with questions in the chat, whether you're on Facebook, Twitter, X, or on YouTube. You can put notes in the chat. Okay, thanks, Colleen. All right, so it looks good. Anyway, so we were doing this Liberty Pastors event, and the part I was talking about in silence, I was like a silent movie. I should have been doing sign language. Can't get my throat to clear. That Liberty Pastors event is literally designed as a worldview boot camp for pastors. And you might say pastors don't need a worldview boot camp, but we all need a worldview boot camp. Every single one of us. We stopped teaching these things in the church. We certainly stopped teaching them in the schools. And so there's so much there that we need to learn. And Paul Blair, who I have forgiven for his one of his great sins in life, he played for the Chicago Bears. And as a Dallas Cowboy, it's, for me to work with a guy like that, I have to look past the things that people have done because, I made mistakes. I had a mullet. I wore parachute pants. I mean, there were terrible, terrible, terrible things in my past. Anyway, so Paul is a great guy. He's a huge guy. He was a lineman, so he's huge. But he's a great pastor. He figured out a long time ago that line that you've heard me say a lot: what part of your life is the Lord not Lord over? And I usually give Paul credit for that because he's such a big guy and could squish me with his thumb. But Paul has really captured the ability to place that question before pastors and say, what part of your life is the Lord not Lord over? If you have anything on that list, then you should list that on your pulpit. Make a little sign, put it on your pulpit, and say, those are the things we will not preach about around here. Now, clearly, biblically, there shouldn't be anything on that list, right? We surrender all. Everything comes under his lordship. And so that's essentially how Paul gets their attention. And we do these Liberty Pastor events every couple of months all over the country. We train thousands of pastors really in depth. It's 3 or 4 days. It's 4 days of good stuff. I'm talking Matt Staver comes in. I give a couple of talks. Sometimes David or Tim Barton come in. You got Steve Maxwell. You got Paul Blair, of course, teaching. We had Alex Newman, Kevin Freeman on economics. Bob McEwen comes in and does economics sometimes. I mean, it's a serious faculty, if you will, that is teaching these pastors. And they only got to pay the $99, and they get this nice 3 or 4 day vacation at a nice resort, bring their spouse. That's what I was also joking about earlier before I didn't have audio. And oh, Keith's on here. Hey, Keith, what's up, buddy? Yeah. Hey, you wore them too, buddy. Hey, you didn't quite. Did you have a mullet? I don't remember you having a mullet, but you may have had those days as well. Anyway, so that's funny, man. I should get my chat in front of me, but. Anyway, so Liberty Pastors, great work. We had a wonderful 4 days. I think we had probably 200 pastors and spouses there, and man, they were fired up. They left saying, I'm absolutely going to lead in my community now. They signed up. We have a commitment that they do at the end. I think that is going to become a much bigger event and more often, and that will depend on a lot of the stuff that we're hoping to do more and more of that with Turning Point Faith as they are exploding right now, and then of course our youth programs, more and more of that with Turning Point. But it was great, man. We had a good time. We were just outside of Orlando, and a lot of the pastors came from across the country. We had California pastors there, so it wasn't just Florida pastors. And anyway, so I left from there. I went from Florida to Indiana, and we had that killer Flashpoint event, man. If you didn't watch Indiana Flashpoint, you need to go watch it, if for nothing else, for this Andrew Cedra guy. This guy is better on speaking out against Islam than maybe anybody I've ever heard. And part of it's his background. He comes from Egypt. As a Christian, had to flee Egypt and ended up in Australia, been there for years, and now it looks like he's going to have to flee Australia because they're passing all these Islamophobia laws. He said on stage that he would be put in jail for 5 years for saying what he said, sitting right next to me on the stage at Flashpoint. Think about that for a second. That's what these hate speech, Islamophobia laws, that's why Sharia law is not compatible with Western civilization. That's why it doesn't work with our Constitution, because you're trying to give religious liberty to people that don't believe in religious liberty for anybody but themselves. And so anyway, Andrew's fantastic. Go watch Flashpoint on Rumble, and it's a wonderful couple of nights. We had Lieutenant Governor Micah Beckwith with us on Thursday night, who is a Patriot Academy grad, biblical citizenship coach. He actually had a fantastic, I don't know if my team's lifted that quote yet, but I told him, man, he just gave us one of the best testimonials I've ever heard. It was so good. He basically said he wouldn't be Lieutenant Governor of Indiana if it hadn't been for Patriot Academy. And so anyway, he's fantastic. We had a great time with him. The pastor Johnson there from that church that we were at was incredible. Lucas Miles was with us. Lucas runs Turning Point Faith, but he also has a church in Indiana. So he's a pastor full time. He has fantastic books. Really, really neat guy, and very, very important in this next phase of taking the culture back. His ability to identify the communism, the Islam, and the globalism that is all the isms that are trying to undermine America. He's just really good at it and articulating it. Anyway, Lucas was there. We must have laughed half of the show. I'm telling you, I don't even remember what got us so. We started cutting up, and Gene could not get us back on track. We laughed so hard. In fact, we were laughing so hard. Terry Bailey, Gene's wife, if you don't watch Flashpoint, you don't know probably who I'm talking about with Gene and Terry and all that, but go watch Flashpoint, you'll understand. Terry's on the front row right in front of us, and she's crying. She's laughing so hard. She is having to, fix her makeup because she's crying from laughing so hard. I don't know. That's never happened before. This is with a huge live audience and probably 500,000 people watching on TV, and we just were acting like a bunch of kids. So we had a good time. If you want to watch that, go to the Flashpoint Rumble. The Flashpoint Rumble page is the easiest way I've found to watch it. We're going to start having it on Patriot U at some point, but then the second night, though, Friday I did a Flash Talk. Now, again, if you haven't been to a Flashpoint event and you're not familiar with Flashpoint, we do a Thursday night live show that beams out to the world and has a night, really good audience usually. And then Friday, we used to do these Flash Talks. We hadn't done those all year long, and Gene and I talked about it, and we just decided we need to start doing those again. And that's where I do a little bit more of a boots on the ground training, a little bit more nuts and bolts, less rah-rah, which I don't mean that in a negative way. I love the rah-rah, but more here's what to do. Okay, here's what you do next. When you leave this building today, go do this and do this and do this. And so it's a step-by-step. Here's how I basically walked them through Rebuilding Liberty, the blueprint for Rebuilding Liberty, just in time for America's 250th. And that was incredible. That went really well. Huge crowd. Gene gave me an hour and a half, so I was able to really go deep with them on the plan, and still didn't have enough time, but it was great. And so, but we did a panel that morning, and it was Gene and Terry and me, and then this couple from Australia. And man, I'm telling you, it was pure fire. I'm gonna get them to Patriot Academy. I have to. And then they were on with us that night on Friday night. So Sean Foyt led worship, and then he sat on the panel with us the rest of the evening. So it was Sean and the pastor of that church, and Gene and Andrew and me, and just more fire, man. I'm telling you, Islam is a cancer, and it is such a threat to our country. And this guy he articulated it better than I ever could have in terms of showing the history of what Islam does and what these people that we have welcomed in. And I'm not even talking about the illegals. That's a huge problem, but you can deport the illegals. I'm talking about the ones that we welcomed in legally that are now running communities in Minnesota and Michigan and other places across America. And he talked about how bad this is and what's happened in the UK and in Australia and these other places, and basically said I'm from the future, and I'm here to tell you this is America's future if you don't stop it. And so anyway, Andrew Sedger. And then I found out, so then I went to this meeting on Saturday with some good friends, and we were talking about this guy, and come to find out there's 3 brothers, and I think the youngest one is the worship leader at their church, but the 2 brothers that look just alike, and I don't know if they're twins or not, and their wives, all 4 of them are amazing. I mean, pure fire. And in fact, the gal, is funny, I came home and was telling Kara about Andrew and showing her a clip, and then I showed a clip of the sister-in-law of Andrew. So it's his brother, who I'm blanking on his name right now, who is also a pastor up there, and just like Andrew. And then that brother's wife, I want to say her first name is Millicent. Millicent or Millicent. I don't know how she pronounces it. She looks like she's 18. I don't think she's that young, but she brings the heat. So if you look her up on Instagram or whatever. And what was funny was I'm telling Kara, my wife, I literally got in at like 1 a.m. on Saturday night or 2 a.m, and I'm showing her this video, and we're laying in bed, and she goes, "Wait a minute, I just watched his sister-in-law on another," and then we pull up that video, and we just binged on Cedra videos. So anyway, great family to get to know. I am not hoping they get kicked out of Australia. That's where their ministry is, where the Lord has them. But I am hoping they come to America a lot more and do more. I met Andrew the first time at our Flashpoint event. I believe it was at New Beginnings in the Dallas-Fort Worth area about 2 months ago. And we didn't get a lot of time together, and I don't remember him being on stage for that long. I remember he was good, but I just didn't remember it like this weekend where we had a lot more time with him and got to really dive a little deeper into the story. So anyway, I just want you to know about them and check them out. So that was my week, man. And we got back this weekend, and so now we're headed into a great week here at the campus. Okay, let me hit just a couple of headlines, and then we'll go to your questions. Obviously, the big headline. I say it's a big headline. It's kind of a nothing burger, but the government is still shut down. Now, why do you not feel that? How is the world surviving with the government shut down? Why? Because it's non-essential. Or at least all of these parts of government that are shut down are non-essential. It's actually a great test, okay? What we should do is at a moment like this, anything that is considered non-essential and that we've shut down during the shutdown, we should get rid of. It's really not bothering me. I think we're surviving. It's actually a great test for just some of the things that government is doing that it should not be doing in the first place. The trillions of dollars, and that is not an exaggeration, literally trillions of dollars that we spend on things through our United States federal government that should not be spent through the federal government. Some of it probably should be spent at the local and state government level. Most of it should be spent through the church and through philanthropy and through us as individuals, and never actually go through the government, bank accounts. But this shutdown just reminds us how little of what the government does is essential. The things that the government's still doing right now today, not all of those things are actually essential, because somebody gets to decide what this list is, right? But military, obviously essential. None of us want to get rid of the military. We want to be, well, maybe there's some wackos out there that do, but we want to be able to defend our nation. It's a legitimate function of the federal government. Patent and Trademark Office, legitimate function, specific line in Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution authorizing that function of government, which is to do what? Protect our rights, protect our inventions. You'll notice that virtually everything that the government is authorized to do and is constitutional falls under that umbrella of protecting our rights. Because you go back to the Declaration, why do we create government in the first place? That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. So the only thing government should be doing are those things that are protecting our rights, and it should only be doing those things that we've authorized it to do. In other words, there's some of our things that need to be protected, but it's not government that we would want to protect those things, or certainly not a federal government. So we should always ask the question, if we think there should be a government involvement in this thing, then which part of government should it be, federal, local, state? So all of that to say, this is a fantastic test to remind the American people and use it as a lesson that we don't need the federal government doing most of these things that are shut down right now. Just cut them off, get rid of it, fire all those people and send them home. Let them go do something else somewhere in the country. That sounds mean. I know that sounds mean to you, but that's the way of the world. And frankly, it's actually mean and wrong to take money from hardworking people to pay these bureaucrats who are doing something that doesn't add anything to the value of the country, or to the protection of our freedoms, or to even just spurring on the economy. They're a drain on the economy. And so what's actually mean and wrong is to keep sending them someone else's money. Government doesn't have money. Government is spending your money and my money. What's mean is to take money from a family that's working their tails off to both pay the bills and educate their children and raise their children, and turn around and give that to some ungrateful, entitled, self-absorbed bureaucrat that sits around doing pretty much nothing all day, or even worse, sits around harassing that very family that we took the money from in order to justify their position. Okay, so I could do this all night. I don't want to do that. Bottom line is, let's recognize that most of the things that we have stopped during a government shutdown shouldn't exist in the first place at the federal government level. And that's why you have felt so little pain. I mean, probably the most painful thing I've ever felt from a government shutdown is going to Philadelphia during the government shutdown 10, 12 years ago, whatever it was, and we couldn't get into Independence Hall. So the Park Service was shut down. And so we couldn't do some filming that we were going to do there. Actually, I was doing a Constitution class for a group. It's actually in one of our Chasing American Legends episodes. I think it's the one called Lives, Fortunes, Sacred Honors, number 3, maybe 4. I can't remember. Too long ago, 10 years. Anyway, that was the most pain that I felt from a government shutdown, which is not true pain, right? It's not like you're literally not paying people, the bills, or you're not, those people that are dependent on government, which they shouldn't be dependent on the federal government in the first place. There shouldn't be a Social Security Administration. There shouldn't be Medicaid. None of that stuff is constitutional. There is no reason for the federal government to do that. We could do all of that at the local level and the state level, and it would be so much more efficient, and you would actually be able to help people instead of just cutting these blank checks and having all of these hundreds of billions of dollars in fraud and waste and theft of our tax dollars. Okay, end of speech. I'm sorry, I got carried away there, but that headline obviously is a big one. Let's see, there was a couple of other ones. Supreme Court's reconvening, so we got some. I'll spend more time on that next week. We don't really have time tonight to go into that. Of course, you got the Portland thing still going on, just mass chaos on the streets there. The local government in that case is actually supporting it. I've seen some important headlines basically saying, these are the secessionists, these are the Confederates of our age, and President Trump he's going to have to invoke Article 4, Section 4, which I think technically he's already done. He's definitely going to have to continue to protect federal property there and federal officers, and just continue to send the message to this mayor of Chicago and these other absolute yahoos that illegal aliens here in the United States will be deported. The president of the United States was elected on this agenda more than anything else. And the federal government 100% has the constitutional not only right, but duty and responsibility to deport these people and enforce our immigration laws. It's going to happen, however much they try to fight it and prevent it. The concern I have is that if they, through these injunctions and court fights and lawfare and just political grandstanding, and then even using violence in Portland. Through all of these things, are they able to delay Tom Homan and President Trump and ICE long enough, or make it look ugly enough that in the Republican primary of the presidential election for 2028, which, I mean, think about it, that primary is only 2 years away, so that's gonna be here very fast. Is there any chance that they delay and fight it hard enough that whoever the nominee is going to be, which I think it's highly likely it's J.D. Vance, for whatever reason, starts backing off? I don't think that will be the case, but we don't know because he hasn't been the one calling the shots yet. He hasn't been in the executive position yet to be the one calling those shots. So I don't think that'll happen. I've been really impressed with J.D. Vance so far, and I'm still observing and won't make a decision on the primary for at least another year. But I think that's the concern I have. If there's any bad and ugly that I'm going to mention tonight, because I've mostly just mentioned good, it would be that all of these efforts by the left to thwart the Trump agenda and to stop the deportation and the protection of our borders, that it will just delay it long enough that it becomes too politically painful because Republicans tend to wimp out, man. That's just how they are. I'm hoping that's not the case going forward. I'm praying that President Trump has infused enough backbone. I'm praying that the Charlie Kirk assassination has been enough to embolden people to not back off. I believe there's a literal turning point. I believe that the tide has shifted. But that would be my warning is to watch out for that. Now, in terms of closing the border, I mean, the president's been just absolutely successful and amazing how fast that was able to be done. So incredibly good. Okay, let me try to get some of your questions before we have to jump over for our Flashpoint live tonight. I think tonight is Jürgen Mathiasen and who else was it? Oh, Seth Gruber's going to be on tonight. Yeah. So be a good show tonight. Okay, so this is a great question. Times Era Changes said if we still had more, we still have mom and pop shops instead of mega monopolies, we wouldn't need federal regulation. Seems to me that interstate commerce leads to federal regulation. Yeah, I would argue it this way, that just because goods are crossing state lines doesn't mean the feds should be regulating. The purpose of the Commerce Clause that opens that up was to actually prevent states from regulating. It wasn't to give the federal government the right to regulate. It was to give the federal government the ability to say no to state regulation of goods that were crossing state lines in an unfair way. Not crossing state lines, I said that bad. It was to prevent states from regulating in a way that protected their merchants in their state and prevented merchants from outside of their state from coming in and competing, from creating regulations to even prevent goods from coming in or causing it to be at a disadvantage. That was the whole purpose of the Commerce Clause in the Constitution. It's actually been the Supreme Court and the Congress and frankly, FDR that expanded and not just expanded, literally flipped that on its head and started saying that the Commerce Clause allowed them to do federal regulation initially if it crossed state lines, which again, is not enough. They shouldn't be able to do that. So the big box retailers does not open the door for federal regulation. But that's what they've done, even though that's not the intent of the clause or what the Constitution actually says. But then they went further than that. It didn't have to cross state lines anymore. It could be commerce within your own state. And then they just started making the argument that it was affecting commerce in other states, and therefore they could regulate it. And that's what led to the Wickard v. Filburn case, and 60 years ago, that basically said even though the guy wasn't even selling his wheat locally, let alone across state lines, he wasn't even selling it locally. They made the argument that because he didn't sell it, it affected the price. I mean, that's just as insane as it can get. And that's also what led to Obamacare becoming a tax instead of a regulation or a requirement to purchase, because they were basically saying this is punishing people for not participating in commerce. And the four justices that dissented in the Obamacare case, which every one of you that has been through our Constitution class, we talk about this, but they actually said this would make mere breathing in and out a prescription for federal regulation. Just breathing, just being alive, and that's where we are. I mean, the federal government regulates you no matter what you do, and so the Commerce Clause has truly been distorted. So you got your finger on the right issue. I would just take issue with the fact that even the Commerce Clause itself does not give you the right to regulate commerce just because it's crossing state lines. It's actually supposed to give you, the federal government, the power to make commerce regular, not to regulate it, to make it regular, meaning fair across state lines. Okay, let's see. Why, thank you, I'm Just Some Guy, for signing up as a lifetime Constitution coach last week. All right, what's with all of these sign-in names that aren't names? Do I know y'all? Are y'all people that I actually know and you're just having fun with your name? Let's see. Challenging students on Constitution and 13 colonies along the way. Don't think that's a question, Stephanie. It might be. If it is, reword it for me, and I'll try to come back to it. Okie dokie. Let's see. Oh, hey, Ryan, I will be at Moms for Liberty on Sunday. We're going to, Cameron and Elisha and I are flying in Saturday night. We can't get there any sooner because my nephew's getting married, and so we got to be at the wedding, want to be at the wedding. And but we are going to fly out that night after the wedding, get to Orlando really late, not sleep probably, and then and run over. We'll be there at the hotel for Moms for Liberty, and we'll do that morning 8 to 10 service called The Blessings of Liberty. So Cameron's going to sing, and I'm going to give a talk, and we are really looking forward to it, despite not having sleep. So should be good. And then from there, I'm headed to I think we've decided to call it the Full Tank Tour, because Mark Meckler and I, last time we did this in Wyoming and Montana and South Dakota, we ran out of gas. And so there's a whole story there. But this time, we're going to make sure that doesn't happen. Anyway, we're headed up there for a 3-day tour. Really looking forward to that. And I think that's only, what is that, 2 weeks away? Yeah, so this Saturday, not this weekend, Moms for Liberty, but the next weekend. And yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. Oh, YouTube won't let you change your name. Shame on them. Gubernatorial candidates for California. I have not really looked into that. The only ones I know of are Steve Hilton, and I believe Pastor Shayon is still running. Those are the only two that I'm actually aware of. So I'm not familiar with this Daniel guy. Well, I don't believe there are any military paychecks that aren't happening under this shutdown. I believe that's considered essential, and those paychecks still happen. So if I'm wrong on that, please correct me. I mean, there are definitely bureaucrats that aren't getting paid, but not our military members. And correct me if I'm wrong on that. I could be. But also, anyone that's not getting paid right now, it's a paid vacation. They are literally getting to sit at home, not work, and when this whole thing, the politics gets worked out in another week or whenever it is, they're going to get full back pay. So they're literally being paid to stay at home. It's not hurting any families. Yes, there we go. October 20th through 22nd in Montana and Wyoming. So we're not hitting South Dakota this time, just Montana and Wyoming. Ha ha, David, that's good, man. Can I get P.O. Box 1 for Constitution City? I hope so. I'm going to try hard, and then I'll rub it in Gene's face. You know it. I'm gonna make sure that I let him know. We'll have some fun with that when it happens. Okay. Yes, Ken Ivory is where I got that about if government, which government. You're exactly right. And I usually give him credit for that. You know, my rule has always been the Zig Ziglar rule. That, you know, the first time I steal a line from somebody, I say, my good friend Ken Ivory says, and then I give the line. And then the second time I say, I have a friend who says, and then I give the line. And then the third time I say, I've always said. So anyway, that's what Zig taught us. That's what I normally do. But with Paul Blair and Ken Ivory, I've been giving them credit on those two lines I used tonight. For years, and I just forgot to give Ken credit for that tonight. Sorry about that. Okay. I heard several sources say that military just got a check, just did get a check, but won't get the mid-month one. I'm curious, man. I really would like to know because I'm always when I'm wrong, I want to know as soon as possible so I can correct myself and get good information out there. So if you have any of those sources, please add them to this chat, and I will go research that for sure. And I'll try to find out. I'm sure it's going to come up tonight as well on Flashpoint. Oh, thank you, Kelly. So you were watching. Thursday night was hysterical. You all were really teasing Gene about his age. I love teasing Gene about anything. Probably the main thing people tell me when I see them and they're a Flashpoint Army person, they say, "Tell Gene to be nice to you." So apparently he picks on me more than I pick on him. Okay. I'm having trouble scrolling through here, so I'm probably missing some of your questions, but hopefully I got most of them. So hey, if you think about it, share this this Tavern link with your friends and family because you know we're doing it a little different now that we're going live on Mondays instead of posting it into our programs. So help get the word out there. I like it better this way. I like being able to take questions from you guys. And yes, Nicholas, great point. Yeah, let me hit this one before we jump off. There are huge elections in Virginia. And here's the thing. Everybody was, in fact, I just interviewed Chad Conley. It'll be on Wall Builders tomorrow. Make sure you listen to the Wall Builders radio show tomorrow. Chad and David Barton are on one of their Faith Wins tours. And so they were updating us on the road. And he said, you know, this is not like 4 years ago. There was much more attention on Virginia. People were enamored with that race. They got involved in it. We're having trouble getting people to pay attention. And so that's one reason that we've had Winsome Sears on a couple times on Flashpoint. We're trying to really get more people to pay attention to what's happening in Virginia. We do not need to lose that gubernatorial race or some of the other ones. And I know there's some weird things going on with the AG candidate and some of the crazy things the Democrat AG candidate said that really, though, represent the Democrat Party and their willingness to demonize people to the point of it literally creating violence. That's just kind of their MO right now, unfortunately. So we're hoping that the Charlie Kirk thing changed that, hoping that the Democrat Party will find their way and get back to the center and not be a radical far left party, hoping they return to being a party of JFK and RFK, but not likely in the near future. Yeah, I did see that Eric Metaxas called the 250 the Super Centennial. I think that was his way of responding to my joke on him about the fact that I was saying semi-quincentennial and that he was the one that went to Yale and couldn't say it. Not that he couldn't say it. He just hadn't said it. And so now he's got this easy super centennial. So, Eric, if you're out there watching, I love you, brother. Yeah, nice cop-out. Man, that Yale education, you know. Come on. You're letting the country boy outdo you. I'm using more syllables than you are. Okay, anyway. Love Eric, by the way. And for those of you that think I might be picking on him, he's phenomenal. I read all of his books. And we do like doing events together. It's kind of funny when we do them because, you know, he comes in with his, you know, double-breasted Yale suit, and he always looks so sharp, and he usually uses words much bigger than me, and it's so powerful. But then our messages, we tend to say the exact same thing, just in two different languages. He says it in Yale language, and I say it in country boy language, but we get along great. Okie dokie, folks. I'm headed over to Flashpoint. Hope that you'll watch Flashpoint tonight. We go live at 7 o'clock. You can watch us on Rumble and a lot of other places. You can still watch us on KCM. You can still you can watch us on Andrew Womack's network, Truth Network, and tons of other places. But anyway, easiest place for me, I just tend to go to Rumble just because it's fast and easy. And I'll actually probably have Rumble pulled up and be chatting with folks while we're doing the show since Ed Rush is not on tonight, and he's usually the one that does that. Love Ed as well. All right, everybody, have a fantastic week. I will see you next Monday right here in the Tavern. Make sure and get you some Patriot Brew. That's the other thing I was talking about when there was no audio. It's the best coffee on the planet. PatriotBrew.com. I should be advertising it. I don't know why I don't have it anywhere. Maybe wait. No. Oh, I think it's behind Charlie Kirk back there. That's why. God bless everybody. Have a great night.